My name is Quinn McDonough, and I'll be talking about Uruguay and doing business there. Uruguay is a South American country and also a Latin American country. It was founded in the 16th century. At some point, Spain came in and the Uruguayans actually defeated Spain and pushed them out. After that, around the 19th century, there were only 75,000 residents in Uruguay, and it seems smaller than I would have expected at that time. Moving on throughout time, the national elections were held in 1984 for reform. The military had tried to write a constitution, but that was rejected, and that's why they ended up having a 1984 national elections for reform. It is now one of the most progressive countries in the world. They are certainly a lead as far as inclusiveness of all peoples. They were one of the first to legalize same-sex marriage, cannabis, things of that nature. Soccer is the national sport. A lot of the Latin American countries, soccer, well, a lot of the world, soccer, or what most call it football, is the national sport all across the world. And Uruguay is one of the strongest countries in Latin America now. In the past, they have certainly had troubles prior to the 1984 elections, but now they're one of the strongest and most successful countries in that region. Doing business in Uruguay. Now, I've been to Latin America, and the places I've been, people are certainly welcoming and very nice. And most of Uruguay, most of the people are middle class, working their way in life, like a lot of us. A firm handshake is welcomed. This is typical in many countries across the world, but in Uruguay it is not unwelcome, so that's something you certainly want to pay attention to. It's interesting is they find this very disrespectful as putting feet up at a desk or a table. I really couldn't figure out why, other than it just seems that putting your dirty feet on someone's furniture is certainly not welcomed in most parts of the world. Using the okay hand sign is extremely rude. We use this to say everything's okay, putting your index finger and your thumb together and raising your other three fingers, but in Uruguay this is certainly something that you would never want to do unless you wanted to be rude. During business meetings, formal attire is needed, as in any business meeting across many realms. Most of the time you're going to have to be somewhat formal or business savvy with your clothing. When you're in those meetings, it's interesting and not surprising. Meetings don't start on time generally. Being on time is certainly required and something that if late is looked down upon, but the meetings don't start on time. Social components of the meeting are more important than the meeting itself, because that's the time that you get to know each other, especially if you it's the first time meeting someone. Small talk, things of that nature start and usually go over the time the meeting is scheduled, so that's why the meetings don't start on time. Something that came up is you always want to have enough business cards to hand out to people. I don't know if with the cell phone and how we communicate now, if this is still in effect, but it's certainly something that has been shown as important to make sure that you can give your name and let everybody know who you are in a formal manner, so that if they need to get a hold of you, they can. Once again, the small talk is expected. They want to get to know you before the meeting starts. They want to know what you're about. You're going to want to know some Spanish. That's the national language of Uruguay, even though some do speak English, but the main language is Spanish. One thing that has always been suggested in my findings is looking for a local guide who could take you around and learn the city and learn its people if it's your first time visiting. When you have meetings, lunchtime is the time for a meeting. Lunchtime is the time for work. They want to meet during lunch, and these are when these things should transpire. When dinner time comes around, though, business is no longer happening. They want to socialize, they want to have a good time, and they want to find out things about the people they're having dinner with. Overall, conclusion is Uruguay is a wonderful place to go. People are salt of the earth.